The giving screen, it's where you record all of your donations, but it also has features to help you manage pledge campaigns and take donations online. I'll show you what's in the giving screen and how to get the most out of it, and I will share some pro tips to help you out. To get started, log into your ChurchTrac account and you will select the giving and pledges screen here. And then once you have that selected, by default, the system automatically brings you to the contributions side of things. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to kind of walk through this here so you can get an idea of the features going on here in ChurchTrac. So to add your giving batches, because anytime you need to record donations, you need to add a batch. And so I can select the add button towards the bottom. And when I select the add button, I then can select the date. Now, oftentimes in a church setting, you may be recording that date for like Sunday or maybe a particular day. I'm just going to go ahead and go back one day and say I'm recording our Wednesday offering. And you can name it whatever you'd like or not name it at all. It's really up to you. And so we'll go ahead and select add date. And now I have got this contribution batch ready and I can start entering my donations. And the way you enter donations is by simply selecting the add contributions in the top right corner here. And when I select that, it brings the drop-down menu where I can go ahead and I can start typing out the name of a person or the member number. And so, for example, let's say Ronald, he donated to our church, except I need to spell Ron's name right. If I just put in Ron, it automatically starts pulling in my people here, and then I can find Ronald. And one thing that's worth noting is you can type in member numbers as well if your church leverages that, like envelope numbers, and they will pull up too. So I'll go ahead and put in $400 to general offerings, and I can even put a little memo there. I can select whatever the check number is if that person gave with a check. Now, one thing I do want to point out is you can have multiple areas a person's giving to. So like, let's say Ronald actually wrote a check for $450. 400 went to general offerings, and Ronald also wanted $50 to go to maybe like our missions income or something like that, or evangelism. Then I can select that and then go ahead from there. So that way you can see same check, but the total is $450 for those two different items. Add this contribution. That's the process, pretty straightforward. Now, one thing too is a lot of times in church setting, we are taking donations from an offering plate, or maybe you have like a donation box or something like that. You can also add anonymous/cash and then go ahead and put in that amount. So maybe $680 our church brought in for cash offerings, and I can select that as a type and then add this contribution. Now, worth noting is a memo field here too. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but a memo field is great just because it gives you the ability to really specify things if you need to do that. Or in the case of like, maybe I want to know who counted those donations for the anonymous and that came in our offering plate. Well, I can put like Larry and Bob were the ones that counted this donation. So I can do that and add this contribution. Got it. There you go. So I'll go ahead and close this out. Now, some other things going on here in the contribution side of thing I think are really worth pointing out here. This actions button, which you're probably already familiar with the actions button, it's available in a lot of areas in ChurchTrac, but when I select this actions button, it gives me some options here. I can edit the date or description of this batch here. You can delete the batch, create a deposit, which actually moves this over to your accounting screen if you're using ChurchTrac accounting. But one thing I do want to point out is the ability to import contributions. So it makes it really easy. If you're using another online giving provider, maybe you're coming from like Givelify, PayPal, PushPay, Subsplash, whatever it may be, you can actually select those and just take the files directly from those providers. Although I'll make an argument later for ChurchTrac online giving because it's actually built into ChurchTrac. One thing you do have as well is just the ability to pull from just a CSV file. Just make sure you follow our instructions and before you import, so that way everything imports looks great. I like this a lot just because let's say it's like halfway through the year or you have just a ton of donations you want to put into ChurchTrac and you already have them like in an Excel sheet. This is definitely the way to go for that. You can create new categories and add new names to your database from that file that you can drag and drop in there. And so that's good to know as well. So that's a great feature. Highly recommend it. Now, when it comes to like reports in the giving screen, there are a lot of different reports that you can select from, but the biggest one is obviously the contribution statement. And so anytime you're generating these reports, all you have to do is select the quick date range here if you want to maybe look at for this year or last month or something like that. And so I could do this year, and that would automatically put it from January 1st to the end of the year, and I could generate a contribution statement for every individual or family. And so it's just great being able to quickly generate these statements. Now, if your church is wanting to just go fully digital, keep in mind your people can use your church app and they can log into their account. They can see their giving history at any moment. Plus, you can email your giving statements to your people from the people screen. So that's something you can always do, but I can also just view the report and there's all the contributions for my people right there. So it's kind of great having all that built in. But definitely check out all the other reports we have. Some of these reports you may find very helpful for just kind of keeping track of all the things. Now, ChurchTrac also has pledge campaigns built in as well, so you can create different pledge campaigns for every year, or if your church has like a certain pledge campaign you want to do for maybe like a new building, let's say, or maybe like a new roof, whatever it is, you can create different pledge campaigns for everything and go ahead and attach them to your categories. Now, this is an opportunity. I want to really kind of take a moment. Let's talk about just like when it comes to using the giving screen, there are a couple areas that you kind of want to set up ahead of time, and categories really is the big one. Because when you're using ChurchTrac Giving, you want to be able to specify where people are giving to, and categories is how you do that. And so with the categories, this is a really good example. Like our church does a new pledge campaign every single year. Well, maybe you'll have like a category called like pledge campaigns, and then you can create subcategories within that. And what's neat is you can dictate whether or not a category is either income or expense. When it comes to the giving screen, you're going to be leveraging income, obviously. But using for online giving, I can enable a category for that. So definitely think through your categories. Some very common categories I see for churches is just having like a general offerings, but then they may have something for like their children's ministry, or maybe something for a specific like love offering, even like in-kind donations. Highly recommend creating a category for that, even though you don't assign a dollar amount in in-kind donations. Check out our video online that talks more about that. We have that in our user guide for in-kind donations and how to handle those. But yeah, you want to create your categories and have those set up ahead of time. That way you're not constantly going back and forth, adding new categories as you go. It's just already done. Now, I want to talk about another area of setup, and this is online giving. So I've already set up online giving in this account. But whenever you're using ChurchTrac for the first time getting going and you haven't set up online giving yet, you have the ability to actually link ChurchTrac with Stripe, whether you have an existing Stripe account, or in many cases, you'll need to create a Stripe account. And so you'll do that and everything. It takes about 15 minutes to create a Stripe account through ChurchTrac and then get your bank account with your church linked to that and everything. So that way you can start accepting donations online. Now, once you've set up your Stripe account and everything, this is what it'll look like. You'll actually have your own unique URL, and you set up this URL through your keyword, and that's available through the Church Connect screen as well. But then you'll also have a unique QR code. And I love this because it just makes it super easy for people to donate to your church. The other thing too is you can even generate a special QR code and link for specific categories. This is super, super beneficial for like situations in which maybe you have a love offering, and you can even have like a default amount. So maybe like you have a particular missionary that you're wanting to get a lot of people to support at an event, and you want to have just a default amount of $50, and this link and the QR code takes them straight to the ability to do that very quickly. So I love that. So that's just something that's great to have there. But you also have a lot of different options and things in terms of like being able to take your online giving, embed it on your church's website if you're not already using Church Connect as your church website. Now, if you are using Church Connect, you actually don't need to bother with this because giving in ChurchTrac is just seamless. It's already built in and everything. But if you are using another website like Wix or Squarespace or WordPress, this embed is a great tool, or you may just want to link to it. I typically see churches leverage the linking, but it really just comes down to what you want to do. We also have other options available. You can actually require donors to log in and be matched. This is great if you want to add like an extra layer of security, but it does create a little bit more friction for your donors. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you are in the United States, you can allow donors to give via ACH. Highly recommend it. It definitely will save your church. If you have like a dozen donors giving online, it can save your church up to $1,000 a year. If you have more than that, you're talking thousands of dollars in savings and fees. And you can also give your people the ability to help cover the fees, by the way. So those are some of the kind of the options going on there. ChurchTrac also has text giving, and you can set all that up, email receipt to donors, all that good stuff. And you can also manage recurring donations. Even though your people have the ability to do this, just know that you can too, because it's going to happen. You're going to have someone reach out to you and say, hey, I need to cancel my recurring donations or something, and they don't know how to do it. Then you can do that on your end and not have to deal with people being frustrated and then saying they may charge back or something. So just know you have the power to do that. Now, let's talk about like just some pro tips, because I was just kind of going through giving an overview and showing you how to use some of the things in initial setup. I want to just kind of share some pro tips to really help you get the most out of the giving screen. And the first pro tip is make sure your donors are added to the people screen, because if you're not already getting your people added in, then you're constantly going to be doing this process. And I'm going to show this process what I mean by this. So if I go back to one of my batches and I start adding contributions, I'm just going to make up like a random person, Larry, Bob, no name found in the database. So then I have to add this person. So it just kind of slows you down to do that. And so I highly recommend like going ahead, doing an import with us if you haven't done that already, or just getting your people added in ahead of time. And so that way you're not constantly just having to add them. But obviously, there are situations you're adding new donors in. It's just very common. And so that is how you add new donors. You add them right from there if they're not already in there. So, but it is good to have them added in ahead of time. Okay, I'm done harping on that. Let's talk about another great pro tip. Add your categories, keep them organized. Do this first. And it kind of is the same mindset behind adding your people first when possible, just because the last thing you want to do is constantly have to keep going back and forth, adding new categories and stuff. Go ahead, do this ahead of time. Add your subcategories, determine what categories you want available online and not online for online giving. And I highly recommend like not giving your people an insane amount of options for online giving. This is like a pro tip within a pro tip, just because you start making it a little bit complex if your people have just so many options of where they can give. Plus it makes your life a little bit of a nightmare for your treasurer, because then your treasurer is like, we have to use this money to exactly where they gave it to, instead of just making it simple where you have maybe just a few different categories that go to specific funds. All right, now another pro tip. Online giving, it's basically like your best friend in terms of just making life easier, because when people give online in ChurchTrac, those online donations show up immediately on the contributions. Now this account I have doesn't have like that example of it, but you'll see those different batches actually automatically show up. And then the other nice thing about that is people set up recurring donations through online giving, and online giving ultimately just makes it a lot easier for you in terms of just all the paperwork and managing all the things and counting all the things, because it's already done automatically. And regular donors that set up recurring donations, they actually give 40% more on average, more than donors that don't set up recurring donations. So it really just makes life a lot easier for you. Plus ChurchTrac automatically can calculate the online giving fees and stuff in the accounting screen, which is really great. So that's kind of like going beyond giving, but obviously giving and accounting in ChurchTrac are very intertwined and work together so well. And so it's good to have that just all kind of connected and working in unison. Okay, so that is getting started with the giving screen. If you do have questions, please just send us a support ticket or visit churchtrac.com/support. We'll see you in the next video.